free live program. Missed a program? No problem. Individual show segments are uploaded to YouTube for convenient on-demand viewing. Be sure to connect with the New Tracks community by joining the New Tracks Facebook page, where you can interact with other modelers and see what they are modeling. Visit our website at www.newtracksmodeling.com, where you'll find information about upcoming events and the latest issue of our magazine, New Tracks Modeler. New Tracks Modeler features articles from builds on the show, exciting new products, and other great articles. And now, here is the host of New Tracks Modeling, Tom Farrell.
Good evening, and welcome to New Tracks Modeling, streaming live on Zoom and YouTube, just as we do every Wednesday at 7 p.m. Eastern. We're pleased you're here. Whether you're a seasoned modeler, new to the hobby, or enjoy the show, we welcome you. This broadcast, along with our 5 other platforms, which include the program you're watching live now, our New Tracks website, our New Tracks Facebook page, the New Tracks Mentoring Scholarship Program, and our New Tracks Modeler digital magazine, is part of a broader vision created by Jim Kello, Master Model Railroader and New Tracks mentor. All platforms are offered free of charge and are supported by a dedicated team of volunteers who are passionate about model railroading. Before we board our first-class train tonight, we want to sincerely thank Brennan's Model Railroading for sponsoring this evening's program.
Tonight's New Tracks Modeling Meetup is sponsored by Brennan's Model Railroading. For over 25 years, Brennan's Model Railroading has been offering unique products focused on the O-scale market. Their flagship product, Brennan's Better Ballast, was an instant hit and continues to be the industry leader. The prototypical size and natural color blend of real crushed granite make it the choice for discerning modelers. Since then, Brennan's has developed a complementary line of natural ground cover materials. Brennan's also has craftsman kits that anyone can build. The complete photographically illustrated instructions assume you've never done this before, and explain in step-by-step detail how to create an outstanding model. The Frank Ellison Tribute series of kits are amazing additions to any layout. These kits take Frank Ellison's scratch-built iconic structures to a new level using modern methods and materials with Dennis Brennan's additional details and amazing instructions. See the complete line of products on the Brennan's Model Railroading website. Use the QR code to visit.
I encourage everyone to support Brennan's Model Railroading. If you watched the last 2 weeks, I did a Watch Me build on his latest kit, the Gilbert O-scale substation, and it can be found on Zoom. We break the segments out, part 1 and part 2. That kit retails for $159.95, and if you act right now and put in NEWTRX, New Tracks, NEWTRX, you'll get $20 off that kit, bringing it down to $139.95. Now, having a large collection of kits myself, and been in this hobby for forever, it seems, this is an extremely high value for $139.95. One only needs to go to the beginning of either part 1 or part 2, where I break out all the bags of precise laser cut components in this kit. It goes together like a Swiss watch. Everything fits, and this kit can be used from the 1920s, 1930s period all the way into contemporary modern day. It's a beautiful kit, and the instructions are the best you'll ever see. And it's a challenging kit for not only a beginner, but a master modeler will also find some things that unique construction methods that I've never seen, and I've been doing this for 60 years. So I encourage you to support Brennan's Model Railroading, and check out that kit. It's a great kit. And now I'd like to take a quick look at what's coming down the main line today, the agenda. Okay, tonight's program, we have Greg Cassidy, a longtime supporter of the show. He's going to do something on the NMRA Golden Spike program. And then we have the second time, Doc Lovelace, a N-scale modeler. If you recall, he's the one that's building the Hellgate Bridge, a 20 plus foot long model. But tonight he's going to feature how he got into the hobby, and he calls it Building Dreams on a Budget. It's an excellent presentation, and I think you're really going to enjoy it. And then I'm going to do one on tool sheds and light maintenance buildings. And then we'll have our closing. Oh, well, if we have time, we're going to do a free open What's on Your Workbench, and then we'll have our closing. So before we begin tonight's show, I would like to run the My Build video and have a few words from Chris Corse.
Don't miss the monthly New Tracks Modeling My Build event. My Build is where the modelers of New Tracks show what they have been building. See amazing modeling with some My Builds featuring specific topics for modeling. If you would like to have your models included in the My Build, please email your modeling photos to Chris Corse at railrunner130@hotmail.com. If you are a first-time My Build participant, please include a photo of yourself.
Chris, if you'd like to say a few words on the My Build program.
Sure. Thanks, Tom. All right. For tonight, let's see, October 22nd, we have a challenge show for the My Build. It's Halloween and oddities. This is usually a pretty fun show, but the biggest part of it is that it requires you to send in your photos. We can't do anything without you. This is your program, so please send us those photos. I know everybody's got some kind of little Easter egg on their layout. So if you could send us photos of that, that would be fantastic. Or so far we have a video. Greg sent in a video, so that'll be pretty interesting. Whatever you guys have that could possibly fit into this category of Halloween and oddities. I know my all-time favorite is the photos of the UFO dealership. And that was just something really very unique and very cool that somebody brought up. I'm not sure if it was here or whether it was a model railroad forum. But anyway, please get those photos to me by October 19th. That way we can include them in the October 22nd show. Because we really need this is a big this is a fun challenge, and we need you to participate. In November, anything goes. Whatever you've got, whatever you're working on, whatever's on your workbench, please send us those photos by November 23rd. And then in December, we're back into a challenge of layouts. So I will stop that for this evening. So I'll turn it back over to you, Tom.
Thank you, Chris. And as Chris suggested, this is your opportunity to participate in the show. And it's an easy way to participate if you're new out there in YouTube land, or I think we have a couple new people here on the live Zoom. Concept is send photographs of your whatever the topic that we have at hand. We have quite a few free-for-alls, so send in your photos. Chris will put them to a PowerPoint. You need only describe your layout and say next slide, next slide. If you're uncomfortable with that, put in a description and Chris will do it for you. But I think everybody's up to the task to do this on their own. And this is one of our most popular segments. So it's popular because it's new track modelers showing their work on a global basis. Before we jump to Greg Cassidy, I'd like to run one more video, the scholarship video, and I'll have a few words on that, and then we'll begin the show.
The New Tracks Modeling Mentoring Scholarship is the only national scholarship for model railroaders from a volunteer nonprofit organization. For academic year 2025-26, we are awarding 4 $2,000 scholarships for model railroaders pursuing a STEAM degree. We hope to award a similar number of scholarships for the 2026-27 academic year. We believe it is critical to support the next generation of model railroaders. You can support the New Tracks Modeling Mentoring Scholarship by donating online using the Zephy platform or directly by check. All donations are tax deductible.
We really want to support this scholarship and the youth in model railroading. So as I say every week, even a small donation makes a difference. There's strength in numbers. I don't believe $10 or $20 would hurt any of you. I'm no longer the treasurer, but I still have access to the accounts, of course, and I'm the vice president of the program. There was $80 in donations last week, so at least we got, and that was from small donations. That was a start, but that's not what I'm talking about. Again, if we have on average 300 views of this program, maybe 400 views of this program after a week's time, $5, $10 would fund 2 to 4 or a minimum of 1 or 2 scholarships. So really take the time. It's not going to hurt you. It's just going to take 5-10 minutes of your time. Write a check or go on Zephy and make that donation. It's tax deductible, and support the scholarship program. If anybody that watched the show in August, there we go, there's the current, anybody that, Bob Davidson is now the treasurer, and there's where you can make your checks out to 6273 Gulfstream Path, Cicero, New York, or you can scan that Zephy with your phone, or go online there with the Zephy. But there's 3 ways to do it, and we're not looking for a lot of money. $10 from all of you would just make our day. So now I'd like to start the show with our longtime supporter and longtime presenter, Mr. Greg Cassidy, coming from you live in Maryland, correct? Outside, is it Bethesda proper? I've been to your home.
Silver Spring is the mailing address, but I actually live closer to Rockville.
Oh yeah, Rockville. And in 4 years, my son will be back in Bethesda, so I'll get to see you again.
And that's where I grew up, so I do know the place.
Well, welcome to the show as a presenter. And what are we going to talk about this evening? The NMRA Golden Spike program.
Golden Spike Award, which a little hidden secret that not that many people know about.
Well, I'll turn it over to you and I'll go away.
All right, let me get my screen up and presentation mode. Okay, so assuming you can all see that, tonight what we're going to be talking about is my long road to achieving the Golden Spike Award and working towards other APs. The NMRA's Achievement Program is a series of 11 certificates that can be earned in various categories. Now, the Golden Spike Award is actually a 12th AP certificate. It's designed to encompass all of the skills that model railroading has, and it's an introduction to the Achievement Program that's much easier to earn. So who, what, why, where, and when? Some, maybe all of these questions will be answered tonight. What is the Golden Spike Award? Well, as I said, it's an NMRA Achievement Program Award, and it has 3 relatively simple requirements. Number 1 is rolling stock, motive power in cars. Number 2 is a model railroad setting, which is structures and scenery. Number 3 is engineering, which is civil and electrical. And we'll get into all of these requirements in detail a little later. Now, the why am I doing this clinic? I think the Golden Spike Award is one of the easiest awards available from the National Model Railroad Association. I feel anyone who's a model railroader and is a member should look into what it might take for one of them to receive it. The when and the where. The when is now, and the where is tonight on New Tracks Modeling. Now, speaking about how I earn my Golden Spike Award means speaking about myself, something I don't do a lot, so there may be a little droning. Now, I may be preaching to the choir, and I know that many of you know more about what I'll be covering than I do, but this clinic will be here long after we're gone, and it may be of benefit to some people at a later time. And now for the who. Well, that's me a few years ago. Back when I was a little tyke, I had an HO model railroad. My dad and I set it up on a piece of plywood. It was an oval of track and some buildings. All I really remember about it is the Renwall House of Fire. I loved that kit. But after a couple of years, car and ship models came along. Anything that I could build, I was interested in, and that kept me busy through junior high until real cars came along. Well, by then, I'd grown up, I'd gotten married, and my wife and I spent 12 years traveling around the country racing motorcycles. I was racing, she was keeping me alive. So that took us into the middle 80s. Now, during that time, I got my first taste of awards, and I found that I liked it. Now, a little sidebar. Studies have shown that awards can make people feel valued, appreciated, and accomplished, which can fulfill basic human needs. We all like awards. And I also found, as I matured, that I had an interest in architecture, especially old buildings. And this would come into play later as well. Now, after I came to my senses and stopped racing motorcycles, we started a family. And by the early 90s, my son had shown an interest in trains. And I said, aha, I remember those. So by the next year, he had gotten an HO layout for Christmas. And he and I put it together on a platform that I built. And we had a little layout up and running. Now, he was mostly interested in running the trains, and I was mostly interested in building stuff for the layout. I kept building structures and making a little city, and I finally realized that it was time for me to build my own layout. So I cordoned off a part of the family room and said, that's what I'm going to do. Now, my inspiration came from the Atlas layout books. And I found a plan there that would work for what I wanted. It was a double dog bone figure 8. And I did a couple of modifications for it, but it would fit just perfectly in my space. And you'll see why this track plan worked out to my advantage a little bit later. So I started construction, and I was using the standard Lynn Westcott L-girder bench work, and I used plywood for the roadbed. And some of you may notice that's the backdrop that I was showing last week on my build. Once I constructed the layout, I pushed it up against the wall and attached it, and then added more to it. Now, for the turnouts and electronics, I altered the track plan a little bit for what I needed, which meant adding some turnouts. And at the time, I was planning on wiring it for DC block operation because this was still the early 90s, but DCC was on the horizon. So I left myself open for that to be included. And within about a year, I had all the track and all the switches down, and by then I had installed a Digitrax system, and I was working on the scenery. I had also at this time joined the NMRA, mostly to learn about their standards. Now, as I continued building the landforms and starting on the scenery, I used both methods, using cardboard web and hard shell on one end of the layout, and then using the insulation foam on the other end, because it came along a little later. And another year goes by, and the layout was starting to become finished. I had some buildings on it, and I had some of the scenery done. And I kept adding small details and running trains. Now, during this time, I'd also joined the Maryland Central Model Railroad Club. And we had 2 master model railroaders in that club. And both of them, along with all the other members, helped me as I was building my layout and gave me advice and what I needed to learn. And I learned a lot working on the club layout as well. But come the turn of the century, and we had been there for 20 years, and we had to move out. The church had changed hands. And if you've ever had to tear down a layout, you know how that feels. Now, with the loss of the club layout and my layout nearing completion, I started working on a plan for a new layout. And this was going to take up the entire basement and have everything in it that I wanted in a layout, and everything I had learned from the previous one. Well, once I finished the plan, I started to realize how much work it was going to be to build it. And I also had to come up with some place for all the stuff that was in the basement at the time. So this never got beyond the planning stage. So with the loss of the club layout, my layout being relatively done, I got seduced back to going to the racetrack again, this time with a car. And I was there for 10 years, and I found that I had not lost my fondness of getting awards. But racing cars takes a lot of money, and it also takes a lot of work, and I was getting older. So once I started looking at how much more money it was going to keep costing me and how much my back hurt, it was time to draw an end to the racing. Now, I had kept involved in the Model Railroad Club at the time, and I had also kept my layout in hibernation. So I went back to working on the layout. There were still parts of it that I considered unfinished, and I started looking at what I enjoyed most about building the layout. I had found that building structures was what I really liked, so I looked at areas where I could still put more structures on the layout and adding details to all the structures I had. If there was a place where I could fit a structure, I'd build one for it. But the layout was starting to fill up, and I was starting to run out of space where I could put more structures. But that didn't stop me. I kept building structures because that's what I really enjoyed. I think this is where my interest in architecture came into play, because I started designing some structures to build as well from scratch. And this led me to start building them for friends and for clients. And once again, I discovered that I could garner awards with these structures that I was building. I would enter them in county fairs and in NMRA contests. And this is about the time that I came across New Tracks modeling when it was in its infancy and we were all in lockdown. I made a number of friends on it, including one local friend, Martin Bruckbill. And he got me involved with the Potomac division of the NMRA, which I had always been a member of, but had not been very active with. And I made some more friends while I was in the division, Alex Belita, Matt Thompson, and Lee Stormer, and they've all been on New Tracks once or more. And at one point, Lee had arranged for Matt Thompson, who was the AP coordinator, to give our club a Zoom about working towards achievement program certificates. And I was aware of them since I knew a couple of master model railroaders, but I hadn't really looked into them, and I found this very interesting. And Matt was leaving at this time to head south, and Martin was becoming the AP coordinator. So that was just the right timing for me to call up Martin and say, "Can you come by? I had a couple of clients' models to deliver, and I asked him to evaluate them before they were gone because I thought they might earn the points that I needed." So he and Alex came by, and while they were here, I mentioned that I had been thinking about the Golden Spike Award. And they looked at the layout I had and thought it might qualify. And so now we're back to the Golden Spike Award. I asked them if I should fill out the form, and they said yes. And you can see here how my simple track plan paid off. For rolling stock, I had plenty of cars and locomotives, many of them super detailed. For the model railroad setting, I had all of my scenery done and lots of structures, many of them highly detailed. And for the engineering category, which can sound like the toughest part, it isn't that hard. And this is how my track plan worked to my advantage, because I had turnouts, crossings, and crossovers. I had 22 turnouts. I had 2 crossings that I had scratch built, and I had 2 crossovers. So based on that, I filled out the form, and this was the easiest of all the NMRA forms to fill out. And just like that, at the next division meeting, I was given my Golden Spike Award. I was a happy camper. But it's actually a lot simpler than what you saw me present there. If you look at the details of the requirements on the Golden Spike webpage, where there's a lot more info than on the form, you can see how easy it really can be. And we'll go into the details here. For the rolling stock, you only need to display 6 units of rolling stock. It sounds intimidating because it mentions scratch-built, craftsman, or detailed commercial kits. But notice that you only have to display them. They don't necessarily have to be on the layout. They can be in a different scale if you've built something else that would qualify. And it doesn't have to earn any points in judging. They just have to be something a little more than a shake-the-box kit. For example, just building a freight car straight out of the box might not be enough, but painting or decaling it or adding some details or even weathering it, and you'll have one that qualifies. Now, for the model railroad setting, which is structures and scenery, you need to construct a minimum of 8 square feet of layout. There's no requirement about how good or elaborate it must be, just that you have to construct it. You may have trouble convincing someone that a loop of track nailed to a piece of plywood constitutes a layout, so you have to go a little beyond that. But in terms of size, 8 feet is not that much. A typical module is 2 by 4 feet, so that qualifies. As far as the structures, you have to construct 5 that are either scratch-built, craftsman, or detailed commercial kits. They can be separate, or they can be part of a scene on the layout. And the same comments apply here. The idea is to show that you can do more than just glue together a simple plastic kit. By painting or weathering, you can qualify. And remember, structures aren't just buildings. You can use a bridge or a trestle. And for the engineering part, which sounds like the hardest, basically you need to lay down some track and do the electrical hookups to run some trains, plus a couple extras. The qualification is 3 types of trackage, turnouts, crossings, etc. All of them must be ballasted and installed on roadbed. But commercial trackage can be used. So it sounds harder than it is. Notice that you can use commercial trackage, so you can just install a store-bought turnout. The types of trackage can be anything. Turnouts, crossings, even a grade elevation is considered a type of trackage. Also note that the 3 types do not have to be different. For example, just having 3 simple turnouts will qualify. proper roadbed requirement can be met by laying the track on raised roadbeds such as cork. And that's just to show that you understand roadbed profiles, etc. Now, the installed trackage must be properly wired so you can run 2 locomotives simultaneously. Now, that's pretty easy. If you just put down a piece of track with sidings and you're able to shut the sidings off with DC, you can run one train, put it on the siding, and then turn off the power and run another train. Obviously, if you have DCC, it's very easy to run 2 trains at the same time. Now, for providing the additional electrical feature, such as a powered turnout, signaling, turnout indication, lighted building, etc., you don't need to put more into this than there is. A powered turnout can be something as simple as an Atlas turnout with a switch machine. Think in terms of anything that will run off the accessories terminal of a power pack. Many of us would have lighted buildings or some type of street lights or something on a layout. Now, I had been lucky that my layout just happened to have everything that I needed to qualify. And the Golden Spike Award is much easier than all of the other achievement program certificates, and this is as it should be. The Golden Spike is to show that you understand the basics of all of the different categories in model railroading, whereas the achievement program certificates are to show that you excel in each of those categories. I think of the Golden Spike as NMRA's best kept secret. You don't hear that much about it. Do all roads lead to the Golden Spike Award? Not really. The Golden Spike Award does have its own web page on the NMRA site, but it's not linked to the achievement program page. The link there will just download the form for you. I found the easiest way to get to the Golden Spike web page is to just enter Golden Spike in the search window on the home page. Now, one thing to note, you can't already hold Master Model Railroader status and then apply for a Golden Spike Award. So I'm sorry, Pat. Now, my thoughts on the Golden Spike Award is that it can be easy to achieve. I was able to do it. And it can be the carrot that moves you towards other achievement program certificates. For example, since receiving the Golden Spike Award, I've earned 4 AP program certificates. They were in structures, scenery, electrical, and author, with more to come, I hope. So what's been keeping me busy after I got my Golden Spike Award? Well, I've still been building kits and scratch building structures for friends and for clients, although I've cut back on that some to spend more time on stuff for myself. Last year, I had my first open house for the division, and I had to do a lot of cleaning, and I updated and replaced a lot of my scenery. And I continue to work on that even after the open house. And the layout is now starting to get to a point where you could almost consider it finished. I also have an active YouTube channel. I had started this back when I was racing, but I started posting build videos and how-to videos in 2019. And you can find this going to YouTube and just looking for Greg Cassidy's workshop. And I've also kept active in the club. I held officer's role up until this past year. And one of our activities was a public display that we have in the B&O station in Silver Spring. And we have to tend to this to keep it running when they have open houses. But one of our main programs is our scholarship program. We're a 501c3, and we're constantly getting donations that we then take to train shows and sell to fund our scholarship program. We're in our 5th year of giving out a scholarship to a Maryland high school graduate who's a model railroader. And just as in past years, this year our award is $2,500. And most recently, I've been elected to the role of Senior Assistant Superintendent in the Potomac Division. And this is a role that's given me a lot more connections and interactions with more modelers in the area. and I'm getting to meet more people and see more layouts. So is there an MMR in my future? I don't know. I'm enjoying what I've accomplished since I first got my Golden Spike Award, and I'm currently working on my 5th and 6th Achievement Program certificate now. But who knows where it'll lead. So you can see that the long road to the Golden Spike Award wasn't that long in the end. And I hope some of you look into that. And I'll turn it back to you, Tom.
Well, that was very interesting. And have you encouraged some of your fellow club members to go after the AP award?
Yes, those that are members of the NMRA. Our club has about a 50% membership.
Do you think this is a bridge to getting your master model railroader, or get you in the mode of filling out the paperwork and doing the models, or?
It's a good start. I wouldn't say that it's a bridge to getting your MMR, but it's certainly a bridge to understanding and delving deeper into the achievement program, which can be an end in itself. I think a lot of people look at the achievement program as, oh, well, you only do that if you're going to get your master model certificate. No, it's its own end, and any one of the achievement program certificates shows that you've actually accomplished something, and they're worthy certificates to go after because you learn a lot for every one that you work towards.
And do you see any overlap? Like if you prepare yourself with some of these awards, do you see that you can then basically apply for your MMR and you got some of the work done?
Yeah, it's definitely working towards that, and it can be a goal at the end, but it doesn't have to be the end all be all. I know many people who have a number of certificates and they're happy with that. I may end up being one of those. Who knows? It's a matter of time.
And
Sometimes you
then,
just don't have the time that you want to finish everything.
and a couple questions off topic. Do you do you prefer building kits or scratch building, or there's really what is your preference?
Um, I primarily enjoy kit bashing for the most part. I like building kits, but I have to super detail them and get them up to uh, some type of quality status. I enjoy scratch building, but I don't have the kind of creativity and imagination that I see in a lot of people who scratch build a lot, such as yourself. Every scratch build that I've done, it was either based on something or it was to fit someone's plans or desires of what they wanted done. I only have a couple of scratch builds where I sat down and said, okay, I've got this material, what can I make out of it?
Do you I know, of course, and I've seen your HO layout, but and I assume that's your preferred scale to work in, or do you have a preferred scale?
I'm enjoying working in O scale right now. I'm almost done with an ON18 layout that I can blame Steve Farrell for starting me down the road of. And it will be at Timonium. It's one of the mini layouts that's portable. And I'm really enjoying working with it. I've done a number of O scale structures, both kits and scratch builds for other people, and a couple just for myself. I like working in that scale, but I find it difficult because whenever I want some odder end, I need to go buy one. Whereas if I work in HO, I've got a workshop filled with leftovers and spare parts, so I can just dive into a bin and find something I need. So I wouldn't say it's preferable, but it is easier.
Yeah. Does anyone in our Zoom audience have any questions for Greg before we move on to the
I
next?
do, Greg.
Yes.
It's Pat here.
Mm-hmm.
I do have my golden spike. The
Good
only
for
problem
you.
is, the only problem is when it was made out, our chairman at the time put it backdated 3 years. So it was never put in a stupid magazine. So I reminded him, take a look at that year you got on there. He had to redo it again and send it to me. And he did. But nobody's ever seen it because it was never in the magazine. So anyway, I just thought I'd let you know that. And you're doing a great job, Greg. Do not give up. You'll get it. 3 more.
Well,
Just 3 more.
I assume that they put in that caveat of you can't apply for the Golden Spike after you've achieved MMR.
That's right.
Because it's a little bit like cherry picking, I think.
Yeah.
You know, if you've got your MMR certificate, obviously you've done everything to qualify for a Golden Spike 10 times over.
But it's a great stepping stone, that's for sure.
Absolutely. And,
Thanks,
and
Greg.
a fairly easy one.
Great job.
Any other questions for Greg? Well, thank you, Greg, and I
My
appreciate
pleasure.
your ongoing contributions to the program. Okay, well, next up, we're going to have Doc Lovelace, NewTrack's mentor, his second presentation. But before we introduce Doc, we're going to run the National Trains video sponsor.
National Capital Trains is the largest supplier of N-scale modeling products in the state of Virginia. We have been in business since 1989. We carry a full line of modeling products, specializing in N and HON3 scales. We carry a large selection of competitively priced high-quality N-scale products from Atlas, Bachmann, Digitrax, Intermountain, Cato, Microtrains, NCE, Pico, Rapido, Soundtracks, as well as brass. For foreign railroad train aficionados, we offer a wide selection of Japanese and European prototype trains. We are located 20 miles from Washington, D.C. in Springfield, Virginia. We are a short 7-minute drive off Interstate 95. Stop in and see us for the best in N-scale. We also have online ordering on our website, including great prices and expert advice. Call us for your N-scale modeling needs and advice. Use the QR code to visit our website. We look forward to serving you.
Well, if you're an N-scaler or you need scenic supplies or some non-scale items not related to N-scale, give them a try. And if you're in the Washington, D.C. area, Maryland area, stop in and see them. Support our sponsors. So next up, we've got Building Dreams on a Budget by our very own Doc Lovelace, News and Views N-scale. As everyone may recall, Doc is building this incredibly large Hellgate Bridge, but that's not the feature of this evening. It's a very interesting program, how he got into model railroading and where he is now. So welcome as a presenter, Doc. As a longtime participant, it's always good to see you present. This is your second presentation. So welcome.
Hello, how are you?
Good. Phil, if we
yeah, whenever you're ready.
Yeah.
Okay, so this may jump around a little bit. Tom and I pretty much did this on the fly, so I will do my best to get through it. And Greg, some of the things you actually said in your presentation touch heavily on what mine is about. And also to the rest of the community watching, this also shows just how much NewTrack's modeling covers, from all skill levels to age groups, demographics. It doesn't matter if you're going for the best achievements that this hobby can offer or accolades, or if you just want to have fun putting a paintbrush to something. It covers everything. And yeah, I'm the latter. So I'll start. You can go to the next one. So this is my dream, essentially, right now. It's the biggest project I've ever conceived or even thought about doing. It's taking quite a while, but I am fully confident that I will pull it off. I'm building this in N-scale. And this is just, I wanted to make this video and this message because it's what I wish I had when I started. I did see similar videos and bits of information like this, but not exactly how I did it. And also with the abilities that I had to do it. I just kind of wish I would have seen this process. So next one. So I'll read this. In my first year, I made a commitment to myself that I would set aside $50 a week. I work as a bartender in the hospitality industry. I don't get paid checks. I get my money day to day. Even if I did get paid checks, it was, it's still a very expensive hobby. And in order to do this for the entire first year, essentially, I watched every bit of information I could watch. Definitely invested in NewTrax Modeling and their videos. This right here is a picture of just some of the first items that I purchased. And there's all types of places that I shopped. eBay, of course. And let's say you don't have a vehicle, that's not going to stop you. eBay, Amazon, Temu, AliExpress, and of course, one of my favorites, Dollar Tree. But what I did was every week I allotted an amount of money, and I would say purchase 15 bottles of green glue that week. The next week I might purchase 50 hobby blades. The next week I might purchase a static grass applicator. And it was probably fueled by the fact that earlier that week, I'd watched a video on how to use one. So I was extremely curious and I wanted one, even though I knew I didn't have any static grass yet. So I know that's kind of backwards into what most people do modeling, but here's what I did. As that first year of watching all these videos and watching these videos, I never built anything, nothing. I've dabbled here and there and I tried different processes, but I never actually sat down and built a kit or a big kit bash or anything for that matter. But at the end of that year, and you can go ahead and skip to the next one because I think I'm just going straight through it. But well, this is just an example here of, if you're on a budget, $2,600 a month in a year, that doesn't sound like a lot, but I promise you it can be. It absolutely can be. If you know how to shop, you buy things in bulk. There's a lot of things that you can buy secondhand or used, especially in this community. And even if you put aside $100 a week, you can double that. Now, I'm not saying you're going to build a layout in a year, but if you're starting in the hobby, you will absolutely be able to try just about any process and use just about any tool that we have after a year. So you just have to be slow and steady. Now, here's an example of some of the things I did. Now, this was my old hobby room, and maybe 4 months into it. So it is still I didn't have proper shelving or anything yet, as you can see. One thing I did was I just thumbtacked things that I purchased on the wall so that I would know what I had until I got multiples of them. Then they would find their way into a bin or its proper shelf or whatever. On the left side there, you see a bunch of kind of Tupperware dishes with different types of green powder in it. I watched a video on how to make your own grass. So I did that. I would go around. There was some construction going on Main Street right outside my house. I went around, and every time somebody pulled out a saw, I said, "Please, can I have your sawdust?" And I got some pretty weird looks. But if you don't know how to do that as a beginner, I definitely think you should go and watch a video on that. I'm not going to get into it now because there's thousands of videos on it, but the process is so easy, it will blow your mind. And I mean, you can have, I probably have 40 different shades of green of grass that I made, not static grass, but still turf that I use, especially in N-scale. You can go to the next one. Well, just other things that I've purchased along the way. And just kind of show that as you accumulate things, be very organized. Don't just throw it around. What we got next? Let's see. So this was the other thing I was going to say and touched on. as you kind of go through your journey of education, if you choose to take this route that I did, which is just education and saving for the first year, also try to meet other people online and become part of groups. I fell upon NewTracks absolutely by accident. I saw a video from another gentleman who had featured Al Puglisi's layout. And I just said, hey, man, that's a wonderful layout. I hope to get to talk to you sometime. He texted me right back. And at this point, I thought he was a movie star. I couldn't believe that he, messaged me back and wanted to talk to me and call me and have a conversation. Well, then I realized after that, the whole community's like this. Everybody will talk to you. And then the next week he was featured on NewTracks, and there was no looking back after that. I found a community and I found a group, and there's many of them out there, many of them. You can do it by yourself, but if you're starting and you need help and you need education, it's out there. There's so many people that help you. All right, next one. Okay, so this is an example of the one, and I mean that quite literally, the one model railroad club within 30 or 40 miles of my house. It's quite vast. It's a big group, or big building, I should say. There's probably about 15 or 20 members, but it is a large building. These pictures here are of the HO scale layout that they have, and it is gorgeous and beautiful. They also have an N scale layout. They have an O scale layout. I'm pretty sure, oddly enough, they even have a Z scale layout. But model railroad groups in your community, that just kind of goes without saying. I know that you would be aware enough probably to realize that, but the camaraderie ship that you will get from that and the tools and the help is just, it makes everything go so quickly. You never know what they might have laying around that you really need that they'll sell to you for cheap because they don't want anymore. I can't tell you how many times that happened with people I met online. All right, go to the next one. So this is sort of, I don't know, these were kind of bad pictures, but it was just what I took to represent that not only now on the right picture do I have the grasses that I made, I also now have accumulated different types of woodland scenics materials. On the bottom shelf there, you see probably a year's worth of isopropyl alcohol from 50% all the way up to 90%, all types of paints, rattle can paints, whether I need flat, whether I need gloss, just clear gloss, clear matte, things that I rarely ever use, but every now and then I do. On the left-hand picture, underneath my kitchen there, you can see all those shelves that I put underneath it. If you open each one of those, which I didn't have, we didn't have enough time to look at each and every one of them, but it is all full and organized to the brim. And everything has its place. If I need a hobby knife, pull it right out. If I need a paintbrush that's this size, pull it right out, et cetera, et cetera. So the year was not wasted. The year was amazing. And I couldn't have done it without that. You can go ahead and go to the next one. All right, so this was the first one that I showed you earlier. Now, as you can see on the very right-hand picture, you can see all of those kind of 45-degree angle little shelves. Okay, let me tell you about those. Those I found on Temu, and I think they were silly cheap. Maybe 3 for $5 or 4 for $5 or something. And the great thing about those is they all stack uniformly and they're level, and you can sit them side by side perfectly. And you can see that some of them are different sizes than others. Some of them are a little wider, some of them are a little thinner, but it doesn't matter. They will sit seamlessly next to each other and basically take up maybe 2 inches from your workbench on the wall. And let's be fair, you're probably going to have something hanging on the wall right there that takes up the same amount of space anyway. So it's perfect. Keep everything organized. They're cheap. Also, whenever I did transition to drawers underneath, these all now just sit down flat, but the products within still sit at that same 45-degree angle. So they can go in drawers, they can lay flat, they can lay upright. It does not matter. On the left-hand picture there, this was when I first kind of got started as well. In order to store my paints on the wall like that, so that it took up almost no space at all, I bought on Amazon the racks that if you go to a nail salon and they have all their the colors of what's that stuff called, nail polish? Yeah, nail polish on the wall to view. It's perfect for paint. And I never would have thought it, but I'd read the specs on it and I said, man, that's a great idea. Now it's visual. I can see how many I have. I can see, you know, what colors match with what, or if it, you know, hold it up to something, see if I'm trying to match that particular color. It was a really, really good thing. It was very cheap as well. So, you know, there's ways to do everything on a budget. I can promise you that. All right, go to the next one. Now these were the two, I guess, just dioramas that I built, the first two ever. The one on the top left there, that is a dinosaur diorama, if you will, that I made for a gentleman's grandson that lived in my building at the time. And you can kind of tell by that I was already sort of influenced by Howard and Al, because my grass and weeds and everything tumble all the way over the diorama. There wasn't that flat, clean edge on the side. And that's because he was going to do photography with it. He had small dinosaur figures and Jurassic Park characters that he wanted to do photography and become either a filmmaker or a photographer with this. And I said, well, let me give him a way where he can get the maximum amount of angles from this. And I had a lot of fun working with this. For the first time, I used epoxy, made 1,400 mistakes doing it the hard way, but got through it. Had a great time. The second one was the first one that I ever did like this. That actually was, it's the second one I ever did, but the first one I did that had lights. So a buddy of mine, he's pictured there on the right, is into what's called Gundam dolls. I had never heard of these until he showed me, but they're essentially action figures that you put together just like a model. I'd say they're on a 1 to 10, they're probably a 3 on the, you know, the skill level. So they're not huge, time consuming models to build, but people do take them to extremes with things like this. Now, I just made the bottom street level out of foam. All the rocks are foam that I hand painted. And then it's sitting inside of, I found a pretty deep picture frame on Amazon that I just gutted out and stuck the foam right inside of it. And there are actually tea lights that you can see on the bottom left picture there. I believe I purchased those at Dollar Tree for, I guess $1.25. So underneath that, now I know you can see that the gentleman on the top has a bazooka and he's shooting it down at the guy on the bottom. And of course, I don't know why he wanted blue smoke. I said, you should go with the white smoke. He goes, no, I want it to be blue. So there's blue smoke coming out of the bazooka per the client's choice, whatever. But underneath the street as well, all those cracks, there's a separate button you can click and the whole street lights up as if it's glowing underneath from the explosion. It's pretty neat, and it's all battery operated and there's not a wire in sight. So these meant a lot to me. They were hard to give to them after I made them, but either way, I had fun making them. I learned a lot. And at that point, I knew that I was ready to go. Like I was ready to start this, and it was what I wanted to do. All right, next one. Now, this is when I got started making things for myself. I know you guys have seen these, but anybody who's new on YouTube, you may not have seen these. The picture on the left is a building that I made completely out of cereal boxes. The one that says Doc's Liquor there. The paper, the brick paper that is on it, I printed that out myself at FedEx. I went online, found a pattern of brick that I liked. I very carefully patterned it so that it didn't look overlapping and it didn't look odd or anything like that. And then just basically took a glue stick and put it on the cereal box, weathered it. This weathering, I believe, was done a little bit of paint and mainly chalks, though, to give it that kind of old, dirty look. And all the graffiti that you see on here, because I really like rundown urban areas, if you can't tell, but all the graffiti that I do is done with a fine-tipped acrylic paint pen like this right here. I don't know if you can see that, but these are super cheap. They have a fat tip and they have a small tip. And I will tell you something, if you do not have steady hands and you want to paint every window frame on a 20-story building, you can do it with one of those acrylic paint pens in 20 minutes, 30 minutes. And it's very, very useful. And then on the right side, that's some of my static grass, or not static grass, but grass that I made. And the middle picture with the 3 trash cans, that fence was made out of nothing but leftover balsa wood. That's it. All right, next. So this is where I want to say about, what NewTracks really did for me and how you're never, ever, it doesn't matter how much money you make, doesn't matter what age you are, it does definitely not matter what your skill level is. This hobby wants you. And I found that out. There's been so many times and so many different things that I really, really wanted to be a part of. And I really begged and I really tried. And either I wasn't good enough or they didn't want me. I've never felt more at home than I have in the model railroading community. And I've walked into several churches in my life, but I have never felt more at home than I have with this community. So I would really implore everyone who's even thinking about it, but a little bit hesitant, just jump in, just do it. All right, next slide. So about that too, about, stocking up and everything, be practical, which is obvious, but, I'm not going to buy 30 gallons of 2-part epoxy, not yet anyway. I don't know how this water scene's going to go, but you know what I mean. Be practical as, and keep in mind that you are still on a budget and, and find other ways that you can perhaps build something. Scratch building is definitely a way that you can say, well, I like this model, but this one has a dock. I really want the one with the dock, but it's $75 more. Build the dock, build it, figure it out and build it. Try at least. Try to build it. And you might be surprised. You might shock yourself. There's so many ways to save money. There's so many ways to save time. So be practical with it as well. All right, next. This is just proof to you that I live in a very, very tiny space. On the left-hand side is also more boxes and bins of things that I have labeled. But it really doesn't matter. N scale is what I choose because you can fit more in a smaller space. I can have a 15 block city, and it doesn't take up that much space. It's about the size of a bed, and you already know you're going to have to forfeit some space in this hobby. It's just is the nature of the game, the nature of the hobby. But I know people that might have a indoor golf screen in their home, and that's about the same amount of space you'd need for that too. Young modelers, it's very good for you as well in the sense that what I believe, just because you're still young, your eyes are wonderful, your hands are steadier. And I know that some kids like the bigger trains. That's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. But I know when I was a kid, I was fascinated with the smaller trains because I got to see more of what the train was doing. And I wanted a really, really long train or a really, really big city. So no matter what you choose, but if you do live in a small space, I can recommend N-Scale, and I'll show you why with the next slide. So here are some examples that I found that were two of the favorites that I've come across in the past couple of months, but I keep seeing the picture on the right pop up almost every time you just Google N-Scale layout. It doesn't matter. This one pops up. Now check this out. I mean, just look at how many bridges you have, how many what appear to be main lines, on their own, standing alone, how many different topographical tiers and levels. I mean, it just has so much going on. There's two little towns, there's like some type of plant on the top of the mountain there. It's gorgeous. It's beautiful. And that's probably 7 feet, 8 foot long at the most, probably 3 foot deep. That's it. And it is gorgeously done, beautifully done. And you would not be able to do that with any other scale. You just would not. I mean, it would be twice that size in HO and keep on going, twice that in O. So if you're on a very, very tight leash, go with N-Scale. The one on the left is another example of a different type of layout. Now, the one on the right is I guess a loop layout, but the one on the left is what I think is more fun, because I'm all about the most realistic thing possible. And this is like I think what's called, well, it is called, but a point-to-point layout. But this is actually more of like a point-to-point operating layout where there would be a lot of switching. It's not just a trolley necessarily going back and forth from A to B. There are stops along the way, switches you make, pick up box cars, take them to this facility, pick up oil tankers, take them to that. Kids would just have a ball with this because it's like a video game in real life. And I would love it too. I think we all would. But that's another example where it's just a shelf. I mean, there's nothing underneath it, nothing. The space taken up is absolutely minimal. All right, next one. This is me back to my progress on the bridge. This is half of the water that's going to be underneath the Hell's Gate Bridge. This was probably about a week worth of work. Total cost about $12 all in all. Time, yes, but money, no, it was cheap. All right, next slide. These are the paints that I used. I almost use entirely acrylic. I do have other paints, but I like acrylic because they're cheap and I can figure them out. These are the colors that I use, the palette, to achieve that color on the far right that you see. It's not quite dry there, but it is a very good representation, in my opinion, of what the East River looks like in lots of different lighting scenarios. The picture in the middle on the top is just the toilet paper method that I use that you can see in many, many videos. And on the bottom, in the middle, is when I added the gel gloss on top. And I mean, if you had a little moonlight or a ship or a light off the bridge there, I think it would look pretty cool on that. Like I said, $12. All right, what's next? And so this is one of my favorite layouts ever, and I'm sure Tom is a fan as well, but this is Miniature Wonderland in Hamburg, Germany. This is when you get to that crazy level, just that, oh my gosh, completely immersed level. And none of us would probably be able to achieve anything like this unless you were 1 or 5 maybe people in the world could potentially do it. But mainly this is what happens when groups and clubs get together to create something. But that's the point of joining a club or group. Look how much fun that must be. I mean, you could have fun and get lost in there just watching it, let alone building it. And you could keep going because I think there might be one more or two of that. We'll just breeze through those. Another view. Now, this is all in HO scale, 1/87th scale. So it is twice the size of mine. So if Miniature Wonderland had been really cool, they would have done it in scale and perhaps got twice as much out of this. But just a joke, but yeah, and it's also lit. So just imagine how beautiful and how fun this is. It's just a great hobby, and I'm so happy to be here. And it is possible for anyone. And for the drum roll, New Tracks Modeling, Mentoring Scholarship. This is the other thing that you've got to pay attention to. If you are going to be a member of New Tracks, please think about either volunteering or contributing to our scholarship program. We give away, well, it varies, but we as many as we can every year. And so please be a part of that. All right, next. And of course, everybody gets to see Ophelia every time I do a presentation. So I had my two buddies, I think A and I, they kind of helped me out with this one. But she's ready for Halloween. And she said if she doesn't get any tricks or treats, you're all getting tricks, all of you. So she better get some treats. All right. Thank you.
Well, that was absolutely excellent, Doc. And does our Zoom audience have any questions for Doc?
I don't have a question, but I have a thank you. Those little dividers, those little cubbies on your workbench, I am going to go look for those tomorrow because those things
I'll
look
send you the link
fantastic.
I can send you the link right now. They're so cheap. Now, there's different ways too that you can, hold on, let me just go get them. It literally take me 2 seconds. Hold on, you need to see these.
Once you get on that site, you'll never get off, Greg.
Oh, I've been on Temu. I've gotten a couple
That's
things
what
there.
it is.
It's unbelievable how cheap some stuff can be.
Amazing.
What is it, TIMO?
No, TEMU.
EMO. EMU.
TEMU.
Sorry, Tom said we had a little bit more time tonight, so. But yeah, so I mean, you can literally, like, all your older paintbrushes, wider ones, newer ones, very thin, tiny ones. I mean, this is just paintbrushes. I have 40 of these. And then they do this. They stack perfectly.
Wow.
Okay.
Don't go there, you'll
Now, the thing is, they don't necessarily just stay, together. So I just take those little clips that we get at Dollar Tree, and I'll clip one together to another one. And I can just put a little hole in it, and I hang them on the wall as well.
Wow.
Oh yeah.
And I mean, I think that these are, man, they're under $2. I know that.
Yeah.
I mean, and you want to talk about a lifesaver. Because before that, it was like, the toothbrush holder and crap like that. And these are just, man. I mean, I've got all my markers and all these, everything. And then, like I said, look, when you lay it down flat, right?
Yeah,
it's the same. You still have the same 45-degree angle. It doesn't matter.
Well, I know I have 3 or 4 of my wife's glasses on my workbench holding stuff. And she'd probably like
exactly. That's what I did.
I'd say she'd like to get them back, but maybe she doesn't want to now because they've been there for years. But those things would work a lot better.
Yeah, hit up TMU, and all you got to search, and they'll probably type or come up is like hobby supplies or hobby storage. It'll come right up. But man, they've got other things too that are really cool. But yeah, that's a lifesaver right there.
Yeah, you can spend a lot of time looking at stuff on there.
Yeah, you can get lost in a rabbit hole for sure.
Well, thank you, Doc. Great presentation.
You got it.
Very nice. Any other questions for Doc?
Good job, Doc.
Thank you.
And I want to mention Doc is on our team for the New Tracks Mentor Scholarship, and appreciate the plug for the scholarship, Doc. Okay, well, now I'd like to, I'm up next with tool sheds and light maintenance buildings in O scale, any scale really. But before we do that, I'd like to run the New Tracks Modeler video.
Get more New Tracks modeling by reading the New Tracks Modeler magazine. Each edition of New Tracks Modeler includes exciting articles about modeling shown on the show, other modeling topics, and prototypical railroading information. Other articles focus on outstanding model railroaders and new products from a range of suppliers. Don't miss the photos of the popular New Tracks My Build. You can download New Tracks Modeler for free from the New Tracks Modeling website. Subscribe so you don't miss an issue.
Has everyone received the October issue of New Tracks Modeler? Yeah. No. Has anybody
Yes.
expected to receive it and not received it? I think it's probably our nicest issue yet, and I got a lot of nice compliments on it, so we'll keep moving the ball forward on that.
At least you don't have to wait for the mail anyway.
Right. So next, let me do this. Okay, everybody see that? Oop. So I'm going to do something on tool sheds and light maintenance buildings. What I found was interesting was I did a Google search for maintenance buildings on railroads, and I hardly got any photographs. I wanted to see. I did all kinds of Google searches. I did, light maintenance shops, railroads, light. I just kept searching, and there were hardly any photographs. So then I concluded that if you're a rail fan, the last thing in your mind is to take a photograph of a shack or a shed or a small office. Everybody's after the Hollywood shot, the big station, the depot, some big coaling facility or a steel mill or a bridge, but nobody takes the lonely little maintenance shop, the little sheds that sprinkle a freight yard and or around their roundhouses or engine houses. And so I'm going to go through a few of them. A light maintenance shop is they just do light, they have tools in there, hand tools and things, just so they can do some quick repairs on rolling stock and whatnot. A yard office gives a place for people to hide out in inclement weather. I did find a couple photographs of speeder car sheds, which I guess I would expect. And every time I did one of these searches, I got a lot of models, even though I specifically said I wanted, the prototype or real. I didn't have model in my search. 75% of my shed, shelter, speeder car searches had models in them, which I really didn't want to feature because I wanted to show the prototypes. These are a couple examples. Sometimes they use old rail cars, they put windows and doors on them. But what I'm trying to show here is on your layout, these are 1 or 2 evening projects to scratch build. And there are people that sell them like kit makers, but they're really easy to make, and they should be sprinkled all over your layout. These little sheds, little tool sheds, they add a depth of realism that seldom photographed, but should be frequently modeled. The classic of all the searches, I found only 2 prototype pictures of rail cars being used for storage, but I found a dearth of models. People love to take a out of service boxcar or something they never quite ran very well and turn it into a storage unit. So it's alive and well in modeling, but not on the Google searches. So this is an example of a shed that was made for my model railroad, my McCoy camp. You can't see it in this picture, but it's made from scrap from an old rail car. So all the colors of and that's why I'm showing it. So all the boards on this little shack are, the theory is taken from an abandoned rail car, and that's why I featured this. That's sort of an extreme there. That's not what I'm really about this evening. This is a kit from Foggy Mountain Structures that I kit bashed and featured a couple years ago on New Tracks Live. This is theoretically made out of a refrigerator car and a freight car where they've put windows on it and a door and a platform. This is a ready, available kit, but this is more elaborate than what I'm talking about this evening. What I really want to talk about are little shack-like or small little buildings. I mean, this is so small it almost looks like an outhouse, which it isn't. Not entirely sure what it is, but I wanted two small structures in this particular area of my layout, and that was one of them that I scratch built. This one's a little larger. This one is a tool shed where basically they just keep hand tools in there. And this is what I'm going to feature tonight, how I built this in 2 evenings. And these can be sprinkled all over your layout. They're easy to build. They can be made of scrap wood, and they can be highly detailed. So this is the build process. That is basically all the main components required to do a small tool shed. This is a Tichy door, and these windows are actually HO scale. I wanted some small windows, and then the siding is just either Northeastern scale lumber or one of the suppliers is just vertical siding. The thing to take note here is this is a little takeaway. See this notch that I put in here? That's because these Tichy or Grant Line have a little extension off the door, and if you don't notch it, it doesn't fit flush. So always remember to notch it. And look how simple this thing is. 4 pieces of wood, 4 windows, and a door. I always write on the back of these the difference between up or down. I used to not do that, and then if there was a difference in the height from the base of the structure to the first window, I'd have one window that would be at, say, 2 feet, another window would be 2.5 feet. So I always label these after I put them together. And then this is that 1/4 inch material that I use for everything for strengthening the outside wall. So it's just simple, my typical construction. I use super glue, and with these 1/4 inch pieces of wood on there, it's very easy to just glue the first wall on and put a square on there, make sure it squares up. Everything I build, you have to pay attention to keeping everything in square. If you don't, things simply don't fit right. Everything I do is just as square as it could possibly be. So on the left there, you see the built up 4 walls and the 1/4 inch material in the corners to reinforce it. Now I'm getting ready for additional reinforcement. This stuff, 1/4 inch material, is so inexpensive. I as I've said in many presentations, doesn't cost you really anything to make it last forever. It'll never warp. So there I've boxed in the ceiling and the floor. Now I've got a very robust structure here. Oop, sorry. Oh, going the wrong way. There we go. Sorry. So it's very strong, and it's never going to warp. It's all super glued together. Now I like to use different materials to give a little variety to the look of the building. It adds visual interest. So this is a shingled material from Larkspur Monster Works. I had a small piece here, and I just, with a ruler, just, drew it out on the back, and then I cut it out with a X-Acto, and mouse is so sensitive. And then I just glued that right on top of the piece there, and I see how it's extending out from the left and right of the building. That way the runoff doesn't run down the side of the building, and we'll cover the other part on the roof. Very simple construction. And then to keep those triangles, those roof from warping, I put this. That looks like I use balsa wood. Anytime I can burn up what balsa wood I have left, I use it. So I put a piece of balsa wood in there and super glued it in place to keep the integrity of these front and rear pieces high. There's another view of it. Then you can see on the end, I put, again, this is just scrap wood. So when you look up from the bottom of this in a photograph, you're not seeing sky. So in other words, see how this extends outward here? By just putting a couple pieces of wood in there, now you don't see, now there's not a vacant space there. I took a piece of blue painter's tape. I stuck my 4 HO scale windows on there and my Tichy or Grantline door, and then I sprayed it with my Tamaya light gray non-filling primer. And then I began hand painting it with craft paint. As I said before, I paint the interiors with an inexpensive flat craft paint because I don't normally detail the interiors. The colors of my railroad for maintenance buildings and stations and things are this yellow green. These are the base colors, as I refer to as obnoxious at this point. They're very bright, very bold. These are, $1, $1.50 a bottle. It's just craft paint. I did not bother priming this. I just painted it straight up, the wood. Sort of a leap here, but I started putting on the trim. This is just 1x4 material. And then I put this little accent on here. This is a 2x6. Just add a little detail to this thing, just some visual interest. So you've got the shingles up here, the vertical siding here, the two-tone color, and then I'm trimmed it out. It takes no time at all to do this and adds a nice little interest to it. You might say it's a little elaborate for a tool building, but that's what I wanted. The roof is tar paper. This is the something that I can't remember the Creek models. They don't make it anymore. I just Xerox it, make a copy on my laser or my inkjet printer, and just cut it out and glue it on there with Elmer's glue. I've demonstrated that technique many times.
I think it was Stony Creek.
Stony Creek, that's it, correct. Which is, I wish he would have sold those files to somebody because this stuff's gorgeous. And I filled the windows with an acetate in the back, and I've sprayed them with dull coat on the inside. That looks a little chalky on the right. That'll go away in a minute, but you can see the before and after. I got a little carried away with the dusting, but it'll with dull coat it washed out to the right hue. Just different views. This was 2 evenings of work. And there's where it goes on the layout. So this is that little tool shed. Not entirely sure what this is. Has a nice little smokestack there. That's a brass tube, a little piece of 040 plastic and some cotton. Um, but this, without these two little buildings, I mean, there was literally nothing there but scenery, and it really adds to the scene. And if you say to yourself, once a month I'm going to do a 2 evening project and put in a little building somewhere in the layout, before you know it, you have all these little buildings everywhere. It really adds visual interest to the layout, and helps make the scene. There's the overall scene with this with these two little buildings. And I've said this before about my modeling. I do what's called a layering process. I start with the track, then I start with the tunnels, and I just keep adding and adding and adding and adding till you get saturation of super detailing. And it doesn't happen overnight. This takes like a couple months of work or so, but you just keep adding and adding, and a layering process, and before you know it, you get something that looks like this. Visual interest here, a camp, railroad workers, just little neat things all over the layout, thorough weathering everywhere. Ed Holmes' boarding house, he's in a new business here. So that's what I have for you this evening. Any questions?
Everything you do tells a story.
That's correct. And the more detail you have, the more stories you can tell with your eyes. I've only had maybe a half a dozen visitors to the layout, but one thing they always walk away with is when they see a detailed scene like that, I catch them standing there and watching and looking at it, and looking and looking and looking, because the more you put on there, the more there is to see. So, anything else? Well, we have some time. We want to use this for, we were originally going to do what's on your workbench. Phil and I are always, it's like a weekly race that never finishes. The mad dash to get interesting content for the show that that isn't just narrow gauge, because that's what we do. And naturally, we gravitate to that because that's who we are. But we really need HO presentations. That's probably our biggest. It's the largest scale by far, most popular, followed by, and then N scale is behind that, and then O scale, and then all the subscales. But I see some new faces in the audience, and or at least relatively new to me. If you guys don't mind me calling on you, maybe we can see who you are and what scale you model in, and maybe we start with Mike LaFond. If you could unmute yourself and be picked on, that would be great. How you doing,
What
Mike?
are we doing?
We are welcoming you to the show. I don't recall you on the show before. Maybe you were.
Oh, mostly in the summer I've been here. My local club meets Wednesdays at 7. So but today everybody was away. So here I am.
Ah, what scale do you model in?
F scale.
F scale.
The
Okay.
big stuff.
Yeah. Do you have a layout?
Starting to build one in the basement.
Do you?
I also have one out in the backyard, but it's more or less just track on the ground.
Do I detect a Canadian? Where are you from?
Where Chatham, from where Pat is from.
Ah, okay, great.